Hey, hey. You guys are both muted.
Oh, okay, I'll unmute.
No.
Oh, there we are.
Paul, looking
Yeah.
good with the hat. What is this? Is this a new style?
Well, you know, when I do my financial review meetings, I wear my suit jacket,
Oh,
and for all your benefits, I put the hat on when I'm in the car, just so I look a little more professional.
oh, I see. I see. I think you're.
But I wear this around town too.
Oh, okay. This is so that they don't recognize you in your painting hat.
Oh yeah, no, that's a different business.
Yes, exactly. So you wear different hats. I like that.
Yeah, different hats for different businesses.
Good. Hi there, Stephen.
Hey, guys. I see we have some very substantive and important conversation that I came
Oh,
into.
yes.
Yes.
Very
Yes,
deep here, very deep.
So
So how were your travels, Stephen?
Yeah.
where did I go?
You were in
I think
Boston.
Salem or something?
Boston. Oh, yes.
You got burned or something, or what?
Where did you go?
Well, let's see, last couple months, Boston, Tulsa, Orlando. So Boston. No, it was good. It was good.
Yep. Was
Purely-
this business?
No, it was purely
Oh.
recreational.
How nice.
Taking the kids, whale watching tours, you know, the Freedom Trail stuff, Salem Witchcraft,
Ooh,
Plymouth Rock, all that stuff.
that is great. That's
The
great.
you know, one of the interesting takeaways is apparently nobody was particularly interested in Salem or the witch trials that happened in the late 1500s until
Yeah.
it was featured on Bewitched.
Oh,
And suddenly it became a tourist mecca.
oh, yes.
Oh.
Well,
So all of the tourism surrounding the Salem witch trials happened following 1970s Bewitched shot there.
right. Oh my God.
Funny.
That was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny. You know, I think of it as this like historic event that everybody knew and had some interest in. It was because of the TV show.
Oh my gosh. That's great. Well, now they have tourist income.
Yes, they have a lot of tourist income, I must say. Tours and all museums and all kinds of crazy crap.
That's good.
So,
That's good. Well, we missed you.
oh, well, thank you. Thank you. So, are you guys making some headway on rounding up clients and putting revenue on the books, I hope?
Well, I'm busy collecting new money from existing clients, so that's nice.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's more work, but it's good. It's all good. And then I did put together a preliminary list that I had sent you guys. I had sent, I had copied the three of you, and it was about 30 people. I went through my cards because you and I talked about that some time ago. I went through just one pile. I have lots of piles of cards, but I went through one pile and picked out the people that will probably remember me from like 3 years ago. So it's like between 2017 and now. And they're mostly just small business owners. They're people that I met in business networking situations mostly, or they were in the same office building I was, or something like that. And but then what came to mind is I really need to decide what to say on my business card because I don't have one. And then I was talking with Mindy yesterday about setting up a what do you call it? What did we call it? A landing page. Because if I'm going to get myself situated in LinkedIn and to start setting up the marketing that you guys help us with, that I need to do that. That's that has come to the top to be, I think, the first thing I need to do is to have a place for people to go to see me or find me. But in the meantime, I am starting to do more networking and what have you. Yesterday, in this office area, this suite that I'm in, there was a lady in our big conference room, and in between clients, I knocked on the door and introduced myself and asked her what she did. And she's an estate planning attorney, etc. I just finished doing my homework on her because I always like to get to know the person if I didn't really get to talk to them. So I always go on Google, I always go to their webpage to read up, on them as much as that there's going to be there. And what I have done in the past, and I'd like your feedback on, what other things I could do instead, is, when I would meet somebody like that, I'd just say, how about, I'd like to get to know more about what you do, etc. Or we could share what we both do, but I like to keep it on a you rather than a me. So I either recommend that we meet for coffee or a glass of wine or lunch, kind of thing. But I do need to have something to get to not sound like all the other financial planners. I mean, something to get her attention because I don't have a place where she could go to see who I am.
Okay, there was a lot packed in there, right?
So
clearly you should have a LinkedIn profile, right? And have all that set up. You should have a Facebook business page and have that set up. Both are exceedingly easy to do.
Okay.
You once you have a personal profile on LinkedIn, setting up a business page is exceedingly easy to do.
Okay.
So you have a business page, a personal page, and a personal page on Facebook, but a business page on Facebook for your business. Right now you have those three things, right? And do you have a website now for your business?
It's not. I had turned it off. I think I could put it back on. I just have to take the LLC off of it because I decided it really doesn't make sense for me to continue to be an LLC. And for years, for the last 35, 40 years, I've called myself the Krasna Financial Group. And I guess I'm going through, should I really continue that name or come up with another name, another name of my business. So I need to talk with somebody to collaborate on what to call myself or what to call my business. And I do need help on putting together the material to go in LinkedIn and Facebook and all that good stuff. So if you guys could help me with that, that'd be great.
Well, sure. But, as far as the name, I mean, is there any particular reason to change what you've been calling yourself?
I guess from the point of view that I don't want to go back to doing whatever I did before. I really am in a mode of reinventing myself, whatever that means, I don't know. But I want to feel like I'm freshened up, so to speak, that I don't go, I want to implement new ways of doing things, new attitudes, new, what do you call it, habits, because I have some bad habits I need to get rid of. And, you know, my communication skills with clients and people, on the most part, I feel is really good. Yeah, my closing ratio in terms of clients is very good. It's just a matter of talking to them or finding them.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's start with the name thing, right?
Okay.
Is, you know, to the greatest extent possible, probably, it really doesn't matter much, short of it being something that's hard to memorize, you know, for somebody to remember, or being something where, you know, it's Ajax Inc. and when they Google it, there's 9,000 of them, right? I just, you met Brian, he showed up for one of our meetings, but I went through this laborious exercise with him and with Peter and a couple other guys about, you know, naming. And I kept saying, why don't you just call it frickin' Mitbo, you know, wealth managers, you know, and they kept coming up with names that like 10,000 other people were using. And it's like, well, okay, well, yeah, but if you Google you know, if they Google you, you want them to find you, you know, not find, you know, four or five others. And they ended up with Axios Wealth Advisors or something like that, which, fine. I don't know what it means. I don't care what it means. You know, there's some logic of what it means. And my only complaint was there's still four of them, right? So they, you know, they can be looking for you and find somebody else. So to some extent, I think it's something we tend to, you know, put an awful lot of thinking and analysis and look for somebody who's an expert to tell, and it doesn't make all that much difference. Right.
I guess the energy that I present is the more important than the name. I mean, I have renamed myself with FINRA on my RIA. So I used to be Krasno Financial Group, my registered investment advisory name, but I changed it this last year when I got rid of the broker dealer and just made it Suzanne Krasno.
Yeah.
So
I've got a quick idea for you, Suzanne. What about, because what I hear, partly what you're saying is that you're thinking about a different name because you want a different way you do business. Keep the same name, but do a tagline that's unique to what you're doing now.
Well, I have a tagline. That's good. Thank you. Yes, I do have a tagline, and that is longevity life planning. I don't know if that's exciting or not, but that has been a tagline for me for a couple of years, and it is in style or vogue or whatever. But the truth is I've always provided holistic financial planning, which has to do with people's whole life, everything in their life, all along the way. So, what do you have any ideas for taglines for me?
Well, we're running far afield now, right? So you started with, you were talking to somebody and and are looking for a methodology to move them forward, right? And you said the problem was that you didn't have a website or a, you know, someplace to send them.
Yes, and I don't have a brochure or anything that, you know, what I used to hand out years ago was just a biography I would send to people and maybe a list of what I did.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Right. And you were trying to accomplish what?
I want to establish a professional relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
she comes, she's, I would like to, yeah, I'd like to establish a relationship with her. Yeah, she seems like a very bright lady. She was born and raised in France. So
Yeah.
I'm already impressed. But I guess I just feel like I haven't clarified really what I want to focus on moving forward. Do I want to just, everything from not doing wealth management, but just focusing on straight just financial planning? Because being a one-person shop, trying to do everything is not a good idea, which is what I've always done.
Well, but just let's start back with the original premise. I meet somebody,
Okay.
and I build a relationship, at whatever level, right? And now there's the follow-on step. There's a great book, by the way. It's off topic, but it's called The 1 Minute Manager Meets a Monkey. It's all about delegation.
Oh yeah.
And the metaphor it uses is the subordinates, right? Walking up to a superior, and they've got a task, which is the monkey on their shoulder. And so now when they're talking to the superior, the monkey is straddling the two shoulders, and whoever left with the monkey won, right? So the subordinate is trying to give the manager the monkey. And so the manager is carrying the monkey home in a briefcase over the weekend while the subordinate's out playing golf. And, it's very funny the way they develop it. But to some extent, it's a good way to think about, I think, an interaction, right? If they leave the conversation with a business card and a brochure with a admonition of be sure and give you a call, that's a failed interaction, right? What I want with the interaction, just like the monkey, is I want to leave with all of their information, and preferably with an appointment as a follow-up, right? So, and it doesn't matter whether it's the networking event like we talked about 3 or 4 weeks ago, or whether it's a one-on-one interaction, or whether it was a Facebook lead coming in. Is I always want it to be where at the very least I'm leaving with all of their contact information so that I could mail to them, I can email to them, I can text them, I can call them, and preferably a concrete next step, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what most business owners do is they leave the interaction with, here's my business card, give me a holler if you need whatever.
And in the reality, I had asked her for her card.
Yeah.
So,
Right. So, it's nice to have business cards. What's the value overall of a business card? It's really, a dime more than the paper it was printed on. I mean, it's not very, very useful or helpful, right? Other than maybe you're at an event and you're collecting everybody's cards, but you're collecting them not for the stack that you have. You're collecting them to put them in a direct mail campaign, to put somebody on the phone to follow them up, to have a next action step.
right.
And so, the ideal would be perhaps you end up with a short book or some other physical thing that they can leave with, but you also want the interaction to finish with, let me get your information. Let's follow up on Tuesday. I'd be happy to meet at your office if you want, or whatever it is. But you want the interaction to leave with a concrete action step.
Okay.
Right?
I didn't have any concrete. Well, her client had gone down the hall to the ladies' room. So it was really very quick. I didn't want to take up her time unnecessarily.
Right.
I just wanted to say hi. Basically.
Yeah, you're hijacking somebody else's client, trying to pitch them your thing.
No, I wasn't.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I'm completely in favor of it, right? I mean, that's the situation.
Well, she's an attorney, but she could refer the clients to me. Thank you very much.
No, I'm not saying you were,
I
stealing,
know.
comparable, but just psychologically, right? Is now, if they leave and they have some interest in working with you, all human beings nowadays are going to Google you, right?
Yeah,
So,
like I did her.
yeah. So now it's important that, one, that you're not a ghost, right?
Right.
But two is that what they find is congruent with what they're expecting, and that they find, valuable and useful stuff, right? So that's where, and it's fairly easy to be like everywhere nowadays, right?
Mhm.
So you can have your own little YouTube channel, you can have your business page and your personal page on LinkedIn, you can have your business page, personal page on Facebook, and hell, there's 9,000 other, social networking platforms. You can have a little Twitter feed, and you can have an Instagram and all of that kind of crap, right? But what's ultimately would be important is to have a Google business page and to start getting your current clients to give you reviews on it, because the more 5-star reviews you have, the better. And, that's been kind of verboten in the past with, financial planning, but the rules are
Yeah.
changing. But there's no way that FINRA or any of those guys can control people go review you online, nor be upset about it. So you want to have it be when they go to look for you, which if they're going to do business with you, they will, that you show up and you look, credible on LinkedIn, and you show up and you look credible on Facebook, and you show up and you look credible on the Google local, Google business page at the very least.
Mhm.
Right. And all of that is, an hour or two of just making sure that stuff is set up appropriately.
So I'd like to, I'd like to say two things. First of all, I immediately thought, okay, I need to either email her today and say it was great meeting you. Hope you've had a great whatever with your client.
Yeah.
And then today I was planning on just sending her a thank you note. Thank you for, for the whatever. And
Thank you for talking to me for 2 minutes. Away the rest.
Right. And so then I don't know what to put out there. Just say, I could, how about a meet for a coffee or tea or lunch in sometime in the near future. I don't know. I mean, that's what I would ordinarily do. I'd like to get to know you better. How about getting together for lunch or coffee?
Did she express interest in your services?
No, because we had like literally maybe 3 minutes.
Okay. Well,
So I'm going to come from the point of view that when, if we had more than 3 minutes to talk, she would, be, I guess, I would like to think she would be interested in knowing more about what I do.
Yeah, I mean, let's assume it's better to assume the positive than the negative. It's better to assume that they're a prospective client and be proven wrong than it is to assume they're not and be proven right. Right. So,
Yeah.
I have these little cards, and one of the things I did for Peter Harnish is we got a picture of him mountain biking in the mountains, or I forget what picture it ended up using. It was funny. He sent me one picture. I said, I want the one that doesn't look like you were embalmed 10 years ago, that's on Northwest Mutual site, because they all have these stupid headshots, and they're they look like they're dead posing for the thing, and if you looked at 100 of them, they all look alike, right?
Mhm.
So he sent me one mountain biking and one doing something else, but there was one with his dogs in his backyard, and he wanted to use that one. I said, well, if you could turn the dogs around, because what we've got is Peter and 2 dogs' butts in the picture. You're looking at the rear of the dogs. I said, turn them around so the dogs are looking at the camera, and we'll use the dog one. Something that's just personalized. This is the pulling the hair out, picture.
Oh my gosh.
But something that's kind of personalized, that's human,
Yeah.
that you can follow up on is always a good thing. And with anybody that's cold contact, and it doesn't have to be, buy them lunch. Nowadays, you can set up a meeting by Zoom if
Yeah.
if you want to. But hey, here's what I do, and if I'd love to, take 20 minutes and learn a little bit more about your situation, and if there's some opportunity for it to work together, great. If not, I can give you some thoughts and some ideas. In this particular case, since she's a client of the attorney, I think I might have the attorney reach
Well,
out.
no, that's who I was talking to, was the attorney.
Okay.
Yeah, I was talking to the attorney herself, because she was making, well, there's a glass wall to the conference room. So when you walk by, you see whoever's in there. And I saw this woman in there, a very attractive Black woman, by the way. And it looked like she was recording something in a book that was like a notary book. Okay. So I don't know, that it just came to my mind, and I knocked on the door, and I opened, because her clients had gone to the ladies' room or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah. And so I said, are you a notary? And I mean, anything to get something started. She said, no, I'm an attorney. I said, well, I just saw the book that you're filling out or something. It looked like something.
Okay. So that context made this whole story different.
Yeah.
Take the attorney to lunch.
Yeah.
And find out more about what she does.
Exactly.
And then figure out a good way to create a client feeder from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
what kind of law does she practice?
Estate, probate.
Well, there you go.
Estate planning, probate. I mean, it's like,
it's a perfect fit. I mean, just just sit down and figure out how to feed her traffic and have her feed you traffic. You can with deals like that, there's always a number of ways to do it, right? And what anybody and everybody seems to revert to is, how do I give them 20% of the deal, or what's enough that I can give them, but relationship is much more important, right? And relationship in two ways: their relationship with their clients, and them feeling like they did a good job for their clients, and certainly did a job in such a way that nothing's going to backlash at them.
Right.
But number two is, when you have those conversations, what almost always happens is they're trying to figure out how you're going to give them business, and you're trying to figure out how they're going to give you business. And I always try to start those conversations by giving them business and doing so much to help them that sooner or later reciprocity kicks in, and they want to help back in return, right?
Now, one of the things that I was thinking of that I have thought about doing in the past is to do a joint webinar, or some kind of educational piece.
Sure.
Or a blog, or whatever you call that, where you're interviewing somebody. So I was thinking maybe that would be a way to provide her an opportunity, for us to work together on putting something like that on.
You bet.
And putting it out there.
You say, hey, one of the things I want to start doing is some webinars and some live Zoom meetings for clients, former clients, prospects. And I thought maybe we could do it together, because obviously there's a lot of topics in common here, and them working with you is no skin off my nose, and them working with me is no skin off your nose.
Oh yeah, it's a natural fit.
Yeah, it's a natural fit. So why don't we schedule something if you're amenable to it, and we can work together on an outline, and then I can interview you, or you can interview me back and forth, and we'll just do something like that. And that's a great way to introduce her clientele to you, and you'd introduce your clientele to her. And it's a great way for that reciprocity piece too.
Well, for both of us to be able to reach out, to all her connections that she has, I'm sure, between LinkedIn and everything, because it would be something that you would maybe put on a public thing. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
it
you-
would be a win-win-win for both of us to be able to put ourselves out there
You bet.
as
And
individuals. Yeah,
and structurally, the way you do those type of things, I mean, outside of your own clientele, I mean, you can do it with your clientele as well.
right.
Create what's called a landing page. So you create a registration page. Uh, Mindy, that's a perfect one for just using Eventbrite. But you could use Eventbrite, or you could use a lead pages, landing page, or whatever. But you just have a place where people go and register. If you did it via Zoom, Zoom creates a page for you. So
Oh,
you
I
could,
did
yeah.
know that.
Oh yeah, yeah. As long as you have the webinar package, it'll create a webinar registration page so people register. Then it'll send them a reminder. It'll send them a link. It'll give them access. When you do something like that, by the way, short of it being 1,000 people, which you're not going to get, but in small groups, I always prefer it to be interactive like this, because you're
Mm,
much more likely to move them forward into action if you can say, and welcome Mary, welcome Jim, great to have you here. And by the way, any questions you have, feel free to just jump in at any time. And right, you get an interactiveness going, and also let you move them to the next step more easily.
So what I'm hearing you say is that maybe it's better that we invite people that we know, be it clients, be it prospects, be it other professionals, or be it people that we are connected to, rather than just the whole universe.
Well, I mean, there's levels, right? So,
Yeah.
one level is it's easy for her, it's easy for you to email, to mail, to call former clients, current clients, prospective clients, right?
Got it.
So that's a database that's easy to work with.
Right. Okay.
And then, again, you want to think about how the topic is phrased to make it, somewhat sexy. It's easy to promote those things via Facebook, LinkedIn, direct mail, etc., to broader list, right?
Mhm.
So, in this particular, more or less what topic we're talking about, it probably aims at 55 to 70, right? So you could easily target a number of different ways geographically if you wanted to, but you could go after people at a certain income level, at a certain age level, and target that. So yeah, you can bring cold traffic in as well. The lowest hanging fruit and the easiest way to work a relationship like that is start with, why don't we do something where we invite your clients, my clients, your former clients, my former clients, your prospective clients, my prospects, and we'll do an interactive thing. And if that works out well, we can, promote the recording to a broader list of people who we haven't worked with, and use it as a lead magnet and so forth. So that's
Exactly.
that's a fairly easy way to do that.
So so to me, that's, since I don't have a ton of clients or a ton of prospects that I've been nurturing for the last 5, 10, 20 years, that was something that I've always felt was something that was substantial to bring to another professional that I am looking for them to be a what do you call it? A COI, whatever that is. What's a COI?
Circle of influence.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
To be able to talk about doing something that can help them and me, but but really be able to partner up on doing things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, if you lead the conversation always, in my view anyway, with what you can do for them, right?
Yeah, and that's where I would be coming from.
Yeah. But again, it can be very fruitful. I mean, CPAs, estate planning attorneys, and so forth can be very fruitful. Now, the vast majority of them suck at pitching their own thing, right? They don't really have a good sales process in place. So if you then expected them to be good at referring people who are prepped to you, it's a hopeless cause in most cases, because they're not even good at selling their own stuff, much less your stuff, right? Nor are they very incentivized for it. But there's a number of ways to get it to work well, right? Is one way is what you're talking about is, you do a meeting together. You give them the tools to promote it to their list. You promote it to their list. The what's in it for them is they're getting they're getting in front of your people. What's in it for you is you're getting in front of their people, right? And they're presenting it as a service to their current clients. Another way to go about that is to have pass along tools that they have utilization for, right? So again, it's the value of a book, a report, the recording of this event. I mean, if you do this, then you can burn it to DVD, and they can have a DVD that they can hand out to people. They can have a CD they can hand out to people. They could have the transcript as a report. So they could have a little package. I mean, you could do a nice little envelope. And by the way, here's some really good basic information on the planning process and so forth that they can hand to their clients. You see, all these things can be utilized in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, you get your feet wet with this one. Heck, you could do a mailing to every estate planning attorney in California if you wanted, or whatever region you wanted to do, and essentially do the same thing with all of them. To some extent, they're going to work with you based upon you giving them help generating clients, or based upon you're giving them money. But really, the motivation is going to be they have somebody they trust that they can refer their clientele to, that they're not afraid to blow back on them.
Right. The other thing is now, what is the difference between that and a podcast? Because there's an attorney in this area. She has become very famous in that she started doing podcasts where she would interview different professionals. She'd interview a CPA, I mean, all the obvious people, but other, outside the box kind of people, makes it more interesting.
Sure.
So what is the difference between that and a podcast?
Well, I mean, the difference between doing a live meeting and a podcast, the podcast is on demand, right?
Meaning?
Simple.
Oh, okay.
Well, meaning that how's the most direct way to explain this is you have a lot of different places that you can post content out on the internet, right? And a podcast is like a radio show, but it's on demand. And in fact, one of the some of the top podcast hosts are Spotify, which is known for on-demand music, and iHeartRadio, which is known for on-demand radio shows, and a lot of it is music, right? So you've got, if you produce like this Zoom video with somebody as a webinar or as a live Zoom meeting, the element of it that's different is that it's live. But then once you do it, you have the recording, right? And you could do a live meeting and at the same time broadcast it live on YouTube or Facebook. But then you have a recording that then you can, create a podcast, which you would want to create it like it was a regular program like she did. So you can then post it out to all the directory sites. Mindy, we just went through this exercise. The top ones are Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio. Who else?
Hang on. I have my tab open with all of them here. Let's see. Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Castbox, Google, Amazon, and Stitcher.
Yeah. So, but in search, Google's the 800-pound gorilla, and podcast, Apple's the 800-pound gorilla, right? So, once you have the content, it can become a YouTube channel. And the only difference really between a podcast and a YouTube channel is the hosting platform, right? Is most people will access YouTube to watch a video, where most people will access a podcast on Apple to listen to it as audio, right? But you can post video and audio of a podcast, like Joe Rogan is the number one podcast in the country, I believe. And he posts them all, until recently he did an exclusive with Spotify, but he posted on YouTube and it was on Spotify and it was everywhere else. And it's up there as video for anybody who wants to watch it on video, and it's up there as audio for anybody who wants to access it as audio. Right. So, what you're talking about though is it's a long-term process to build a following.
Yeah.
And it's something that you have to do an awful lot of promotion to get it, but it's a, if you will, hopefully viral online way of building a relationship with an audience that might have some value with it, right? So what Paul's been doing with the contractors, it's a real natural there, because he could build a podcast for contractors on developing their business and on creating a high net and a high net worth from their deal, and it becomes a natural. And then it could be just him talking, or you can have guests, or you can, any combination of the two.
I could be your guest.
But then what happens is when he's interacting with the association, he can have the association promote the the podcast. There's not, in the case of that example, there's I'm guessing, but I don't think there's a lot of general contractors who are intentionally searching Apple Podcasts for business development content.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's going to be found organically, but you can promote it. And the nice thing about a podcast environment is that they start to feel like they have a relationship with you. It's why whether it's what's his name, Howard Stern and Limbaugh, right? They've always been the number one and number two radio personalities in the world, and people would listen to them for 3 hours. By the way, if you ever seen the movie, what was it called? Private Parts.
Oh no, I didn't.
The movie that was based on Stern's book was hysterical, but there's a great scene that I like in there, and they had picked him up from DC, and he had gone to WABC, I think, or WNBC in New York, and everybody was pissed off that they had hired him. They hired him sight unseen. And his claim to fame beforehand was when Air Florida crashed into the 14th Street Bridge. He had called Air Florida and asked how much a one-way ticket was from DC National to the 14th Street Bridge. So they hired him, and all of a sudden he's on the most prestigious radio station in the New York metro market, Howard. And they all hated him, and they were trying to get him not to be Howard. But there's this great line where the ratings have come in, and it's the program director going through with the station manager and so forth, Howard's ratings, who is now the number one talk radio host in New York after they were spent, I don't know how much time, but trying to fix him, right?
Oh, God, yes.
And one of the lines is, well, so, when they were talking about how long people listen and what they respond, on the thing, and there's this great line, which is, well, people who like him, how long do they listen on average? It's like an hour and a half. And okay, well, people who don't like him, how long do they listen on average? Well, this is really an interesting study. They listen for an average of 2.5 hours. And it was literally
profanity.
Well, he had this audience that was, literally waiting for the train wreck, waiting to see what he would say next. What's going to come out of his mouth next, right? And Rush Limbaugh and Howard Stern had a very different audience, but they had a huge audience for the same reason, right?
Yeah.
Is people built this relationship with them and had this expectation of who it was, because for years, I think until he died, Limbaugh had the number one radio audience in the world, and Stern was number two, and dropped quite a bit when he went exclusively to satellite radio, by the way. But when he was on broadcast, syndicated, he was number two to Limbaugh for years. But podcasts are like that, right? Is you can put your personality into it. It's interesting. People will listen to it. If you get them to listen to it, they'll listen to it and feel like they know you and have a relationship with you before they ever contact you. And so it's very useful in that way.
And then the other thing that I guess, my imagination is going wild. My imagination is going wild. Anyway, I always come up with these phrases, and then afterwards I think, you said that, Suzanne, how embarrassing. Anyway, the other thing that I was thinking about doing is doing like short videos about, a very specific area of financial planning.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe talk about, as a financial planner, financial planning is this, this, and this. And one of the parts that people do not think about is protecting their income. And so then I could do a short deal on, without saying it, on disability insurance. And how
Andy, who was it we talked to that was really good at that? He was in retirement area in Georgia, if I remember correctly. He always had the electronic whiteboard behind him, and he had done a ulcer. Do you remember who I'm talking about, Mindy?
Yeah.
Now that'd be kind of cool for me because then I could draw pictures.
There you go.
I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, it'll come to me. But
Yeah.
Again, Suzanne, all of that is a strategy if you have a good. I have 4 dogs and
let me see your dogs.
Well, let's see. Cooper, come here. Come here.
Oh, Coop.
Come here. Come here. Stand up.
Want to see your face.
Come on. I'm not going to mess with the camera here.
Uh,
I've got the black lab and the golden retriever, and
oh, I see a
we're
tail.
babysitting that one.
Oh, and then you've got a furry
Hey,
face.
Chase.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Lacey needs the cut.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The rat dog.
They're out.
Lacey, I think that's the fluffiest I've ever seen Lacey.
Yeah, she needs to be groomed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I would just, now if I were at home doing this, my cats would be up on the desk, lying in front of me or standing up in front of the camera stretching. So.
But Suzanne, what you're talking about there, all of that is great strategy if and only if you do the things to drive traffic and get people to watch it, right? Because really what people want is they want somebody they identify with, that they like, that they relate to. And video, ongoing, on demand, and live are all great platforms for people to feel like they have a relationship with you. Again, take Rush's audience or Limbaugh's audience, right? I mean, Limbaugh, Rush was frat party, but their audience really connected with them, right? I personally can't stand Stern. I'm friends with Chuck Norris, and Chuck Norris is good friends with Stern. I bitched at Chuck about going on his show years ago, and he goes, "Oh no, that's just his persona, and he's really a nice, great guy." I said, "Well, but it's the persona that you're interacting with when you went on the damn show. It's out of sync with with who you are and who you present to be."
Yeah.
So I got a question.
Go ahead.
So are you good, Suzanne, for right now?
For who?
Are you good now for your questions? So we could segment to me a little bit.
Oh, well, yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
I thought that that this would be also of interest to you too, but yes, take the
Some of it,
stage.
sure.
Huh?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. I learned from every bit of coaching everyone gets. So Stefan stepped out. So
I'm
one
here. I
thing-
just didn't want the background conversation bothering me.
Okay.
So just to reiterate, Stephen, I hired my wife to be my ghostwriter for the book. So we've met 3 times and we're kind of moving along. Now, I heard a story over the weekend and I was thinking about putting it into my book. Part of what I'm coaching contractors on is the mindset
You bet.
of wealth. And I have one chapter, which is how and actually I do this throughout the book, how a broke contractor thinks versus the millionaire contractor.
Yeah.
Oh, rich man, poor man kind of concept.
Yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
So we heard a story where one of the kids we ran into works at this bike shop that just opened right in the beginning of COVID. Now they couldn't get bike parts for any of the mid or lower end bikes. So the guy said, we're going to try and only sell high end bikes. So they started selling these $30,000 bikes, $1,000 bike shoes. And within 4 or 5 months, they are netting, after covering all their expenses, $100,000 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is a great story to put into my book of the mindset of, and it could be, and again, this is the first book, which will be for contractors, but the next one will be for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly right. And what 99% of them would have been is just sitting there stewing in their own juices. And this guy decides it's his opportunity to go upscale.
Well, the thing is too, is that your contractors are entrepreneurs already.
Yeah.
But they probably don't have the mindset. They don't look at what they do as being an entrepreneur.
Well,
No.
I think the more successful ones do, Suzanne, but I think that the stuck ones, the broke ones don't.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Well, it's true. It's the old 80-20 rule, no matter what.
Yeah.
If you look at most small businesses, they don't view themselves as entrepreneurs. They just view themselves as, it's kind of like having a job where they clock in at 9, clock out at 5, and then they figure out how to maximize it. Working in the franchise industry it's people want to move from middle management in a corporate world to managing their own Subway shop or their own, hair salon or whatever it is. But really what they want to do is somebody to tell them what to do. And they want to more or less match the income they were making. So they'll pay $150,000 to buy a job where they make essentially the same income, but they're self-employed, which means they work then 60, 80 hours a week rather than 40 hours a week.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then the other thing that I've been doing, which Mindy and Greg knows, I've been really practicing the giftology principles, and I track that with my different clients. So now I have 6 different clients and vendors that I've been giving gifts that they don't expect. And people love these gifts.
Oh yeah.
My goodness. And I get so much joy out of doing this too.
Oh yeah. It's so unexpected. Hey guys, I'm going to have to jump to another meeting here. Both of you. So Suzanne, any of the stuff that you're emailing, put it in the Facebook group, get used to that. And I did about an hour conversation with Travis Lee this morning about what's called 3D mail, about using dimensional mail, which ties in perfectly to what you're doing already, Paul.
Oh.
It's not so much gifts, but it's kitschy, dimensional stuff to get their attention. But
Are you going to post that in the Facebook group, that interview?
Already did.
Already
Oh,
did.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's why I was saying that is that's in the Facebook group. Be sure and pull that out and take a look at it. And Paul, we kind of monopolized time on some of this other stuff, all of it valuable, but there's a lot of good ideas there, Paul, for you to do for the contractors, as long as there's a mechanism for getting them to go pay attention to it.
Yeah, yeah, no, good.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Turn them
Thank
on.
you,
mute. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Well, I was